A good evening to you all, and thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television News tonight. We do hope you had yourselves a productive Thursday. Now here's a sneak peek of our edition. Residents in different parts of the country have noted that as weather monitoring technology continues to advance, it is helping them gain more accurate information about climate variability and enabling them to plan their activities more effectively. The city of Kigali says construction of the Nyabisindu housing estate in Gasabo district has made significant progress and is expected to help address housing challenges in the city. We are very glad to have you join us here tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. Now, residents in different parts of the country have noted that as weather monitoring technologies continues to advance, it is helping them gain more accurate information about climate variability and enabling them to plan their activities more effectively. They make the remarks as Rwanda's first automatic upper air station was officially inaugurated in the district of Huye. It is considered the most advanced facility of its kind in the region. The Director General of the Rwanda Meteorology Agency, Aimable Gahigi, has pointed out that the technology provides a major solution for the country in measuring and collecting meteorological data, while also supplying information used by various sectors, revealing that the new system offers capabilities far beyond the methods previously used. He further noted that the current realities of climate change require keeping pace with technological developments in weather and climate monitoring. The new technology will help address a range of challenges associated with climate variability and climate change. The Minister of Environment, Bernadette Arakwiye, noted that the project represents a major milestone for the country because it is expected to provide reliable data that will help Rwanda respond to climate change. She added that such information serves as an important basis for decision-making across various sectors that depend on meteorological data. The technology installed in Huye district is capable of providing weather data, including rainfall, temperature, wind conditions, and other atmospheric indicators. The system can ascend to an altitude of up to 30 kilometers, collecting and transmitting data from the upper atmosphere. More than $3.5 million was invested in the project, with funding provided by development partners, including the United Nations Development Program, in addition to substantial investments made by the government of Rwanda for related infrastructure and implementation activities. During the initial construction and site development phase, the project created employment opportunities for more than 600 people. The station is expected to contribute significantly to meteorological research and forecasting not only in Rwanda, but also for populations across various African countries, particularly those in the East African region. Moving ahead, in 1 month, the United States of America will be celebrating 250 years of independence. Here in Kigali, the country's embassy organized a reception on Thursday evening in honor of the upcoming milestone, with dignitaries noting on the importance of coming together for the greater good.
The most consequential decisions of our nations made were choosing unity over division. When America's founders chose the motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one, they recognized that unity is not a default state. It is a choice, and it requires constant work. Early America was a fractured collection of distinct colonies with different cultures and economies that had to make the difficult choice to forge a single national identity. Both of our nations understand that our greatest strength It lies not in our divisions, but in our shared identity, in our shared future. And both of our nations use our constitutions not just as legal rule books, but as promises to future generations about the kind of society they are building. The opening lines of the US Constitution pledges to form a more perfect union. The founders acknowledged to the world and to future generations that this new nation would be guided by the Constitution as a framework for continuous improvement, resilience, and yes, self-correction. Rwanda's constitution represents a similar framework for a new era. We look at Rwanda's trajectory over the last 3 decades and see the same forward-looking outlook. Through the spirit of Agaciro, Rwanda has shown what it means to rebuild with dignity and self-reliance, charting a visionary course for a more perfect Rwanda. But I view the most impactful connection is that our two nations celebrate our defining moments of national rebirth on the same day. In the United States, July 4th is our Independence Day. In Rwanda, July 4th is Kwibohora, or Liberation Day. As we look to the future, our partnership continues to evolve and deepen. The United States is honored to be Rwanda's partner. Together, as Americans and Rwandans, let us continue to build a partnership that honors the past and secures a peaceful and prosperous future.
It was also noted that the positive impact of the U.S. as a nation goes far beyond its own borders.
The contribution the United States has made around the world through innovation, entrepreneurship, scientific advancement, sports, culture, and international partnership, among others. Rwanda has greatly benefited from its collaboration with the United States. And over the past decade, our cooperation has evolved into a strategic relationship grounded in shared interests and a commitment to delivering tangible results for our peoples. Last year, for example, we launched the first Rwanda-US strategic bilateral dialogue, significantly expanding our engagement across health, trade, security, education, technology, and investment. This framework provides a strong foundation for taking our partnership to even greater heights. We continue to deepen cooperation in areas that will shape the future, particularly critical minerals, advanced technologies, and civil nuclear energy. In this regard, we welcome the recent signing of a memorandum of understanding on strategic civil nuclear energy cooperation on the margins of the Nuclear Energy Innovation Summit for Africa, which took place in Kigali from 18th to 21st May 2026. This important step opens new avenues for collaboration in energy, security, technology transfer, skills development, and innovation.
Moving ahead, the city of Kigali says construction of the Nyabisindu housing estate in Gasabo district has made significant progress and is expected to help address housing challenges in the city. Many of those working on the project are young people. The houses are being built in different phases. Some are nearing completion, while others are still at the concrete casting stage. Workers employed on the project say that, in addition to providing them with income and improving their livelihoods, the experience and skills they are gaining will help them create their own employment opportunities after construction is completed. The spokesperson of the city of Kigali, Emma Claudine Nireganya, has observed that the housing units will help address the city's housing shortage while supporting the government's policy of settling residents in well-planned communities. The project has created employment for more than 2,000 people and consists of housing units that will accommodate 229 families. The development includes different housing types, ranging from one-bedroom units with a living room to three-bedroom units with a living room. In total, the estate comprises 46 apartment buildings, each rising 3 stories high. Construction is expected to be completed next year. Community health workers in the northern province have praised the smartphones equipped with artificial intelligence technology that were provided to them by the head of state, saying they are helping them detect diseases, provide treatment, maintain patient records, and prepare reports more easily. On the 15th of July 2024, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame, met with the community health workers and commended their dedication and service. He assured them that the government of Rwanda would continue supporting the use of technology in the health services they provide. Shortly afterward, community health workers across the country began receiving the advanced smartphones. The Rwanda Biomedical Center also provided them with a 10-day training program to familiarize them with the use of the devices. The smartphones are used in connection with the e-Iwachu digital platform. Once logged into the system, community health workers are provided with electronic forms and templates that guide them in recording residents' information and health data. The transition from paper-based record keeping to digital systems has enabled them to deliver services more efficiently, prompting many of them to express appreciation to the president for the initiative. As Rwanda joins the rest of the world to celebrate World Environmental Day on Friday, the Rwanda Environment Management Authority is calling for stronger collective action against climate change, warning that its effects continue to threaten lives, livelihoods, and infrastructure. The call comes as Rwanda intensifies efforts to promote environmental protection and a green economy, with authorities urging citizens, businesses, and institutions to play their part in safeguarding the environment for future generations. Here in Rwanda, floods and landslides have continued to claim lives and destroy infrastructure. In 2023 alone, 131 people lost their lives, while financial losses and damage to infrastructure reached as much as $415 million. As more young people turn to the stock market in search of financial growth, one key question continues to stand out. Where do you begin, and how do you begin right? In this exclusive interview, William Evans Mutabazi sits down with a market expert to break down what starting small really means, from investing modest amounts and consistently growing your portfolio to reinvesting dividends and embracing diversification as a long-term strategy.
Beginners, yeah, of course the encouragement is usually to begin small. And when you say begin small, what exactly are you telling them? Are you telling them to begin small in terms of how much they invest, or to begin small in terms of expectations of making money as quickly as possible?
I would say for both, actually. So starting small in terms of amount to invest, you can start with as little as 17,000. So if you can invest in MTN, you can invest in I&M, but also expectations. So a lot of people go in with the mentality of they want, capital growth, or they want dividend stocks. So I would say it's good to have these expectations, but also you have to keep an open mind that sometimes these companies will not be able to get the profit that they thought they would get. So I would say start small in terms of expectations, but also expecting to grow. Start with a mentality of growth, so you're growing your your capital. So every time you get small amounts of money, you can always invest in these stocks. You can always come and add. You can always reinvest your dividends, which is also a good way to diversify. So the one secret I would always encourage investors, whether you're starting, whether you've been in this for some time, would be diversification. So make sure you're not keeping all your eggs in one basket.
Are there some what we would call psychological, even sort of emotional mistakes as a young investor that you can easily make, that probably, or that you made, that a young investor may not really make if you told them, I made A, B, C, D, or usually we make A, B, C, D, psychological, emotional mistakes when joining the stock market?
Psychological, maybe not so much, but emotional, yes. So one of the mistakes that we have seen, and it's over time as well, is that people are just following the crowd, following peer pressure. So they're not making informed decisions. I'll give you an example, right? So when MTN, before it became MTN, it was Crystal Telecom. So in 2011, so many people invested, because that's when the stock exchange was starting as well. Crystal Telecom was listed, people bought the stock. So in 2020, MTN took over and bought over Crystal Telecom, but the stock dropped. And when people came to sell, there was so much supply that, and there was little to none demand. And people were like, I don't understand what this is. If I had invested this amount of money in this investment, I would have gotten like twice more than what I'm getting. And they don't understand that the risks of the stocks is basically capital loss. So it all depends on the company that you have invested in. So is the operations that they're doing more than the revenue that they're getting, the income that they're getting? So without making these informed decisions, you're most likely going to have that emotional scar, could I say? Yeah.
One of the most tragic aspects of the genocide against the Tutsi was the international community's failure to prevent the atrocities, or at least try to stop the massacres once they had begun. As the country's 100 days of remembrance continue, we bring you the following feature story delving into that matter.
Flags are flown at the half-mast across Rwanda. Commemorative activities are taking place nationwide from April to July. The entire nation mourns the victims of the 1994 genocide against Tutsi. The tragedy claimed over 1 million lives in just 100 days. This was the fastest genocide in the world history.
Also gave a warning to people that we were aware that these frictions could lead to something catastrophic, but nobody really believed it. My assessments were, and that's in the report I wrote and what the actions I wanted to take, the assessments from the political side of the mission had a different perspective. They thought I was overreacting. New York was busy with Yugoslavia and so on, so there was not a sufficient assessment of the reality that we had on the ground, no matter how many times I wrote them and called and discussed and so on.
The world's response was tragically inadequate. The international community's failure to intervene or even to prevent the genocide laid bare in shortcomings. The promise of never again was left unfulfilled.
In January 1994, the command of United Nations mission in Rwanda sent a fax back to headquarters in New York with detailed intelligence that Interahamwe were stockpiling weapons and compiling lists of Tutsis to be killed. He was then ordered to share the information with the very government which was preparing the genocide and to take no further action. The technology existed to disrupt the radio broadcasts that directed the killings. The planes capable of jamming those signals were available. Officials even calculated the hourly cost of the mission. In the end, the operation was deemed to be too expensive and potentially also a violation of Rwanda's sovereignty. So the cost was more it became too expensive. It was more expensive, especially when you, in their minds, those lives are really worthless.
The failure of the international community was starkly evident at the former Eto Kicukiro, now IPRC Kigali. Thousands of Tutsi have sought shelter there, trusting that peacekeepers would protect them, only to be abandoned.
At Eto Kicukiro, when the peacekeepers withdrew, thousands of desperate Tutsi were left to die. Such scenes were repeated across the country. If these forces had instead been supported to protect Rwandans, the killers could have been deterred and many people would still be alive. The lives saved by the United Nations peacekeepers who were allowed to remain makes clear how much more could have been done with the political will. Even as the killings accelerated, the language used to describe what was happening itself became a matter of calculation.
Maniraho Ernest was among thousands of Tutsi who sought refuge at Eto Kicukiro. For him, the journey of suffering began a 15-minute walk from Kagarama, where his family lived, to St. Joseph Parish, just before reaching Eto Kicukiro.
Ababyeyi baraganiriye hanyuma baza gufata icyemezo yuko tugomba guhungira hano kuri paruwasi ya Kicukiro.
Parents held discussions and decided that we should seek refuge here at Kicukiro Parish at the time. However, not all of us left home together. Some went to Center Christus in Remera, while others came here. When we arrived, we found this hall already full, packed with people from different places. That's when they took us to a room at the back of this hall where we stayed.
Batujyanye mu kumba k'inyuma kari ko muri no sare abariho tuba.
Maniraho Ernest and family members thought Eto Kicukiro was a symbol of life, the area hosting United Nations peacekeeping troops. The mission was known as United Nations Assistance Mission for Rwanda, UNAMIR.
Umuhanda twanyuze ni inzira twaciyemo turimo kuza hano muri Eto nyirizina. Hari akarembo gatoya kari hepfo ariko twinjiriyemo kugira ngo tugere hano.
The road we used was the path through which we entered Eto Kicukiro. There was a small gate down there where we came in. To reach this road, we had to climb up where I am standing now and this is where the main gates to the compound were located. There was a checkpoint manned by UNAMIL soldiers, and at first they refused us in. When they turned us away, we went back and stayed on the football pitch. People kept pleading with them to allow us in, and later in the afternoon, they finally agreed, but first they checked us, and after that, they let us in.
Ubona mu masaha y'igicamunsi nibwo batwemereye turaza tugeze hano mu marembo baradusaka minwari iradusaka imaze kudusaka iratureka turinjira ahangaha mpagaze neza niho ayo marembo yarari twarinjiye tumaze kuhagera dusanga no mashuri ayangaya mureba hano.
We found school buildings overcrowded with people. That's where we stayed, while UNAMIL personnel were positioned over there. Many people had come from other areas like Kabeza, Niboy, and Gatenga. In the following days, more people kept arriving, including some who had been injured, among them my cousin. They took him to receive first aid at a small clinic over there.
Ndibuka ko hari na mukuru wanjye wo kwa mama wacu wari utuye mu Gatenga yinjiyemo hano bamaze kumutema. Icyo gihe bahise bamufata bajya kumuha ubuvuzi bw'ibanze. Hariya ndumva kuri rino shuri harimo ahantu binjiriramo hagati harimo akavuriro.
For those who are taking refuge at the Kicukiro, April 11th remains an indelible memory. It was a day that starkly demonstrated how human lives were treated as less valuable than animals. On that day, Belgian Union peacekeepers troops evacuated with their dogs in vehicles, leaving the refugees behind in the hands of Interahamwe militias. Hudari Marie Rose, who was 20 years at that time, the image of that moment has stayed with her for years and will never fade from her memory.
Mu gitondo cy'itariki 11 niho nshaka kugera itariki yatubabaje itariki mbese twaburiyeho isi yatuhindukanye twese tuhinduka nk'ibishushungwe.
On the morning of the 11th, the day that deeply traumatized us, when it felt like the world had turned against us, we were all in shock when we learned that Minuar was going to leave us. We all started screaming. They had already packed up their belongings, while the Interahamwe had surrounded the entire compound and had begun firing into the air.
Tugenda tugwira tuba benshi baravuga ngo yewe ngo Minuar igiye kudusiga. Twese twavugije induru tuti Minuar igiye kudusiga, tuti bati bagiye kugenda, bati bamaze no gufunga ibintu byabo, bati turagowe, bati ubwo dutabaze mu ijuru, bati Uwiteka ze kutwagira, bati kubera ko naho Interahamwe zari inyuma y'iki kiko zinjiyemo baratangira barasa mu kirere. Noneho
at the same time, the Minuar soldiers were loading their equipment and even their dogs into military trucks. We all cried out in fear. Parents began to weep. I was 20 years old at the time, crying and asking my mother, "What are we going to do now?" The mothers were crying too. It was complete chaos and despair.
turabigenza dute mama ati bane banjye muragira ngo mbasubize iki, ati se ati muragira ngo tujye hehe, ati se n'aba mama batangira kurira ibintu birivanga.
Victims of the Kicukiro massacre are laid to rest at the Nyanza Genocide Memorial. Every April 11th, the nation gathers here to remember and reflect.
Dufite umutekano ugenda isaha yariyo yose ushakiye amasaha yariyo yose.
Today, we have security at any time and can go wherever we want, which was not possible back then. I am grateful to the government for providing us with that security. They paid for our education, helped us study, and continue to support our daily lives. The Inhotanyi are alive, and we are still grateful to them, because without them, we would not be alive today. They were helped by God so that we could survive. God enabled them, and through that,
Inhotanyi no
we
buzima
live.
kandi Inhotanyi turacyakomeza kuzishimira kuko iyo zitabaho ntabwo twari kuba tukiriho ubu ngubu. Zafashijwe n'Imana kugira ngo tubeho, Imana irazishoboza natwe tubaho.
Yet many perpetrators still walk free, finding refuge in countries that claim to uphold human rights and justice. Survivors continue to seek accountability. The continued inability to dismantle the FDLR, a group rooted in genocide ideology, serves as a stark reminder on the ongoing challenges. It reflects the harsh reality that the world still has much to learn from past failures in addressing such threats and ensuring lasting peace. This underscores the urgent need to stand up against hate speech and extremism, fostering a collective commitment to prevent history from repeating itself.
Should understand that the danger of moral passivity in the face of hatred and violent extremism. We should understand that danger, especially in the face of hatred and violent extremism. Africans, more than most, we must be reminded by all this history. Today, our continent accounts for the majority of the world's active conflicts. In 1994, Africa's collective institutions also failed to respond. I say this because the call for African sovereignty, legitimate and necessary as it is, must also mean that African institutions act decisively when Africans are at risk. Bad actors must not be allowed to hide behind the principle of sovereignty, to evade responsibility for abuses or deny citizens their rights. We cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. Genocide ideology is still spreading in our region. Left unchecked, it has the power to take us all backwards again.
The commemorative activities at Nyanza on April 11th each year serve as a powerful call to action. They remind the international community that the pledge to never again must be translated into concrete, meaningful action. It is a solemn reminder that the world must unite in the face of evil to prevent history from repeating itself.
Ntibizongera ukundi.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again. Plus jamais.
Nunca mais.
Never again.
Never again.
Never again.
Kamwe tena.
Twibuke, twiyubaka.
And on that note, we've come to the end of tonight's English Bulletin. On behalf of the news production team and the technical team, thank you for staying with us here. Until next time, stay safe and have a good night.